this is why living in nature is so important. Now, join me here in this pretty foggy morning, but it's actually really beautiful outside right now. Even though it's foggy and it's kind of hard to see, but it really makes the woods, uh, it really makes all the trees pop and mist everywhere, and it's really pretty. Um, and just being out here this morning really got me thinking that, you know, kind of interesting to think about the fact that human beings are one of the only animals, well, not one of the only, but we're one of the few animals that builds some kind of shelter and then spends most of our time in those shelters, right? Of course, there are animals like that, like ants and termites and things like that, that build their nests underground and then spend most of their days in there, like prairie dogs and whatever. But humans are unique in the fact that we wake up in a house, we eat, we socialize in this house. Then we leave that house and go into another building, work, leave that building, go back to our house, eat, watch TV in that house, go to sleep in that house. Right? We don't really spend that much time other than commuting. And in fact, even commuting, right? Most animals, when they want to travel, they have to actually not be in some kind of shelter. But humans spend literally almost all of our time in some form of shelter, right? We leave our house into a car, which is sheltered, right? We're separated from the outside world. And we drive to our work, and we're only outside of that car for about 5 minutes as we're walking into the building, right? We are spending almost all of our day encased in some kind of shelter. We're not exposed to the elements. We're not living life in the world, right? And this will remind me of the importance of nature, right? Because if I'm gonna be honest, right, I really had no idea what to record this morning. I didn't know what video I was gonna make. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just standing here and I was looking around and I saw, you know, I was seeing birds fly by, squirrels climb around. Like there was literally a squirrel about maybe 4 yards that way, and just jumped out of nowhere and ran away. And it was like, I don't know what sound squirrels make. It was like barking at me a little bit. Whatever sound, it's a weird sound. I can't really describe it. But it was like chattering at me because it was mad that I was in its home. I was mad that I came. It was mad that I was here, and it reminded me like this is, you know, as humans, we have this understanding of, okay, this is my property, this is your property, you know, this is what I own, this is what you own. But like wildlife, they don't care, right? I'm coming out here to a place that I spend a lot of time here. I really like it here. Um, but I don't live here. I live 20 yards that way, right? To that squirrel, I was encroaching on his territory, right? He was mad at me because I was in his house, right? But his house is not like our house, right? His house is the trees, the nature, the world around us, right? If he wants to go somewhere, he has to leap from tree to tree, right? If we want to go somewhere, we crawl inside of this big metal box that growls and snarls and rolls on wheels and, you know, goes really fast and hits deer, right? That's how we get around. We don't move the way we were supposed to move for our entire lives, right? It's an interesting fact that for most of human history, humanity has not been living in a civilization. Humanity has not been living in cities and towns and countries and villages. Humanity has not done that has only been doing that for around 10,000 years, maybe even less, right? But human beings have been on this earth for about 200,000 years, right? There's so much history, and then all of civilization, all of history, everything in your history book, everything like that is literally like just a little blip out of all of the expanse of human existence, right? And it's just fascinating to think that for the vast majority of human existence, we have been living outside. We have been waking up in a cave or a little hut and going out and hunting and gathering and being connected to the world around us, understanding our role in the ecosystem and having a place on this earth, right? We weren't destroying and decimating the ecosystem. Well, we kind of were. We did make the mammoth go extinct and stuff like that. But you get what I'm saying, right? We weren't controlling and taming the world. We were a part of it. And it's kind of interesting to think about that because in the Bible, the original story of, Adam and Eve, right? First human beings, basically God, like in the first chapter of Genesis, basically summarizes all of Earth's history in like a couple paragraphs. But it's important to note that Adam and Eve, being the first human beings, lived in harmony with nature. We lived in the Garden of Eden, right? It was a land of bounty. There was plenty of fruit, vegetables, animals, anything we could ever want, right? All the food that we could ever need, all the water, everything was perfect. We were living in a paradise. And then, you know the story, Eve betrays God, gets Adam to do it too, and then they get banished, right? They get banished from the garden, and God tells them, go work the land, right? There's many different, like, you will now make a living from the sweat of your brow. I will no longer provide for you. And that's kind of interesting to think about because God basically explains that humans weren't originally built for agriculture, weren't originally built for a civilization. Humans were built to live in harmony with the natural world and with God, right? It's very interesting to think about because, most of the time when we think about humans, we think about civilization, we think about farming, we think about factories, we think about vehicles, we think about, deforestation, or all these negative things that humans do. But we never think about how we used to be connected to nature, how we used to basically live just like the animals lived. Traveling in groups, in your families, moving from place to place, hunting and gathering and living naturally, right? We don't think about that. We just think about what we are now. And if you follow me this far in the video, you'll understand, you might be wondering what I'm getting at here. What I'm trying to explain is that it's so important for our mental health and for our physical health to spend time outdoors, to spend time in nature, right? There's been a couple studies done where they explain that it's really important for your mind's circadian rhythm and it will improve your sleep and your mood and everything else if you get natural sunlight in your eyes early in the morning. And you also can be improved if you get natural sunlight in the evening, because it's telling your mind, oh yeah, the sun's up now, right? That means life is good. That means I can hunt. That means I can gather. That means I need to have energy. That means I can move. I can do whatever I want, right? And it's safe, right? Because humans, we have horrible night vision compared to other animals, right? If the sun's down, that means there's danger. It's time to go back in the cave and sleep, right? So when we see the sun go down at night and we get that natural evening sunlight, it's telling us, okay, it's time to start winding down. It's time to start thinking about going to bed. It's time to relax and go to sleep, right? Because there's no reason for me to be outside right now because I'm gonna get eaten by a saber-tooth tiger, right? I mean, there's so many examples of that where your mental health and your physical health can be drastically improved just by living a natural life. That's why this YouTube channel is called Wild Man, right? I'm trying to take a more natural approach to self-improvement, understanding that human beings are meant to live in nature, and for us to be our happiest selves, we have to actually spend time in it, right? It's just kind of a nature rant, but that's all I got for today. May God bless you, and stay wild.